Hi again, it's Lynn, the Canadian Stitcher. In this video I want to show you one of the tricks that I use for cross stitching. I've used this actually probably since when I first started cross stitching, but it's changed a little bit recently. How I do my stitching is with a magnetic board. So what I do is I'll put my pattern. This one is actually one I'm currently working on. So I have two pieces of paper, two pattern pieces, because when I'm doing the full coverage, I need to bleed some of the, or freckle some of the colors across so that there isn't that obvious line at the end where it shows that where a page has been finished. So I line those up. I tend to cut off the extra 3 rows that is the overlap. And then I use different magnets to stick it onto the board with. And some of them are magnets that are also serving a purpose of dual purpose. So I have the Thread Magic that I use as a floss conditioner. I pretty much use this all the time now. I'll put some more information about this particular product in the tips and tricks video that's going to be coming up. So this one I put a magnet on the bottom, so I also stick that onto the board. I always have a pair of tweezers with me because I have cats and their hair tends to fly up in the air or get in to the stitches as I'm going. So as that happens, I just take my tweezers and I just gently pull out the hair and I wipe it on a damp cloth that I keep beside me. So the tweezers also have a magnet on them, and it's not taped on there or anything like that, it's just stuck to it. I also have my embroidery scissors, and same thing, I just put a strong magnet on the end of my embroidery scissors and I stick those to my board too. And then my highlighters, because I tend to, on these big projects, what I do is I mark out what is on that page for one specific color, as long as it's joint. If I'm doing one color and then there's just a little spot of it quite far away from the other stitches, I won't highlight that. I'll work on that when I get to it. But for example, this sheet, I have highlighted in yellow what is the stitches to be done, and as I'm completing them, I'm marking them off with pink, but it makes them turn orange. So pink and yellow highlighters also have small magnets taped to them so that they're just stuck on my board and ready whenever I need to use them. And then I also have, this looks like a little wheel now, several magnets. These are really strong magnets that I try to flatten out into a row like that. And then I have my different needles attached to this, and this just goes right onto my board. So you might be wondering, why do I have so many different needles? That'll come up in my tips and tricks video also. This is a snag nabbit. This is a petite needle that I use sometimes just if I have a little bit left and I just want to try and work out that last little ½ inch of the floss or whatever before I change. And then just a couple of other variety of embroidery needles, just I think they're 26s, blunt ends. So I have all of those there. I also have a needle threader, which I only use when I'm using the petite or the short needles. I think that one is more of a 24 eye opening. And just with my nails, I find it's really hard to get the thread into the eye of the needle. So I just use a needle threader, and I also attach that to my board with a magnet. There's also these magnetic strips that usually come with the magnetic boards if you're buying a small one. I like these to mark off a row below. So if I've already completed that row, I'd like to put my magnet at the next one, the row that I'm going to be doing, and then just work it across like that. Sometimes it can get confusing if it's just too much stuff to look at there. So it's nice to have this to cover up what you've already done and just focus your eye in on what you're going to be working on. So that's how I do my magnetic boards. I also, this particular color that I'm using today, I'm using a lot of, so I will just take this, I leave it out of the floss containers, and I can stick that down with a little magnet also. And as I pull off one thread of strand from the bobbin, I end up with, of course, another tail piece. So I usually just tack that down to the magnet board also with a magnet, just because I have a cat who thinks that all brown thread, brown and black thread, or shoelaces or anything like that. If it's brown or black, he believes it belongs to him to play with. So I just tack that down so he can't run away with it. So that's all I have for my tips and tricks for my magnetic board setup. I hope this gives you an idea, or maybe can help you with your cross stitching. I do find this very effective if I need to. If I'm working on something, let's say in a Q-snap, and when I'm finished for the night, I just lay this down on the table, put the Q-snap on top of it, keeps everything together. I also, when I'm stitching, will just put this on the arm of my stitching chair, and then it just sits there underneath the light that illuminates the pattern for me, and then I have a swing light that comes out that illuminates the stitching for me, the fabric and the stitching. So I hope you like this idea. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I will answer them. I think I'll be doing all my commenting and answers to questions on Saturdays when I have more time available. I think I'd rather just sort of sit down and do them all at one time instead of trying to answer one at a time. So my next video is going to be my FOs, or my finished objects that I haven't gotten framed yet. Stay tuned for that. Thank you. Bye.